All right, so we're all here today to talk about the Knowledge and Skills for Service Coordinators resource that was developed. It's a specialized resource to support and honor the unique role that Part C early intervention service coordinators play. I wanted to give you a nice background on why and how this set of resources was developed, what they look like, and who they're for first. And then we'll dig in and take a close look at the resources. We'll look at the knowledge and skills in particular, the 6 sets of strands, and then we'll go into how you might be able to use those for professional development purposes for service coordinators. So why were these developed? The knowledge and skills for service coordinators, sometimes referred to as the KSSC, because it is a mouthful, was developed to provide awareness around what those foundational pivotal skills are that service coordinators need to hold and demonstrate on the early intervention team for quality service coordination to happen. They were developed, it was a multi-year, multi-phase collaborative process that was a collaboration between the National Service Coordinator Leadership Institute Group, the Division for Early Childhood, and the IDEA Infant and Toddler Coordinators Resource Association. So they worked together, and the process came out and delineated the 6 sets of specific knowledge with related skills for quality service coordination to happen. So as I said, there are a series of 6 sets of skills. We'll look at each of those in depth, but just so you know right now, what the 6 sets are. I'm guessing you probably have some of these sets rolling around for yourselves. It's infant and toddler development, right? We know that service coordinators need to have a really great foundational understanding of infant and toddler development. They need to have family-centered practices, know how to implement family-centered practices across the process. They need to demonstrate leadership and teaming. They need to coordinate services. That's 4. Number 5 is they need to be able to facilitate transition. And number 6 is demonstrate professionalism. So those are the 6 sets of knowledge and skills that are comprise the knowledge and skills for service coordinators resource. And who? So they were developed for service coordinators to really be able to understand and then work towards embodying the set of knowledge and skills that quality service coordination are comprised of. They're also developed for administrators, program administrators, and supervisors who are in those local systems working to support service coordinators in their professional development and supervision. They're also developed to help professional development folks like myself with VEIPD to be able to provide quality training that helps service coordinators be able to reflect on their strengths and then also be able to work towards developing their areas of need. And then they also were developed for pre-service faculty and trainers so that as they're preparing personnel for the fields, we're getting folks coming into service coordination positions that already know and have already learned how to implement all 6 sets of skills. So here they are. It's a nice visual of what the 6 sets are. We're going to come back to this in this visual later and do a simulation activity, but I wanted you to be able to see what the 6 sets were. Let's go through each of the 6 sets. This gets a little wordy, but I think it's helpful to have a good idea as we go through it of exactly what skills are within this training set of resources. So as I said, the first set is infant and toddler development. And that's for the knowledge under that. You'll see that they have the first part is knowledge, and then they articulate the specific skills, right? So it's kind of a general description of the knowledge, and then they pull that forth into more specific skill sets. So infant and toddler development, we want service coordinators to be able to be knowledgeable of infant and toddler development, including factors that contribute to development. So we're looking at things like family context, relationships, culture, socioeconomic considerations, the environment, and experiences that could inform intervention decisions making. I'm sorry about that. In order to be able to bring that knowledge of infant and toddler development to their work as service coordinators, they need to be able to demonstrate 3 skills. One is they need to be able to explain developmental delays and disabilities along with their impact on development and learning, to help families and team members be able to make intervention decisions. They need to be able to apply knowledge of typical development, individual difference, along with cultural and linguistic diversity to support the children's development and learning within natural environments. And they need to be able to support families in their understanding of child development, how each developmental domain contributes to that development of the whole child, along with how to be able to monitor ongoing progress. So that's how Sept 1 is described. Sept 2 is family-centered practices, right? So now that we've got that infant and toddler development piece, the next thing we need service coordinators to be able to do to really provide those supports and services that they bring to the team. So we need them to be able to respect and support the distinctive qualities of each family, recognizing the family as the teacher, the support, and the advocate for that child. And this one has a set of 3 skills. One of the things here is recognizing implicit bias and respecting the unique qualities of each family, helping to comprehensively explain family rights and procedural safeguards in a way that families can understand, and helping them to learn how to be that advocate and support for their child at the beginning of this journey that they're taking. And they also need to be able to promote engagement and family capacity building to address their priorities and concerns. We want them to be able to support and identify opportunities for family-centered practice. Sept 3 is leadership and teaming. So really enabling service coordinators to step into that role, to be an effective leader and building professional partnerships with families, collaborating and teaming with their other members of the early intervention team, and also being able to engage with community partners as well, particularly in things like supports and resources along with the transition process, right? So under teaming and leadership, we have demonstrated skills of being able to use effective teaming and collaboration practices, and also being able to partner with families to identify, share, and access those available community resources, supports, parents groups, and advocacy organizations. So this is that resource support component of service coordination. Sept 4 goes back to the actual coordination of services, to be able to demonstrate the ability to coordinate and then monitor the timely delivery of evidence-based early intervention services. And you can see under this one that there's a lot more, almost double the skills under this category. So being able to orient families to the early intervention system, help them be able to discuss and identify their formal and informal supports and opportunities that might be available to them to support the development of their child. They need to be able to explain to families how early intervention is funded, and then also be able to answer any questions related to the system of payments, particularly in Virginia. They need to be able to coordinate evaluations and assessments, identify and facilitate the multidisciplinary eligibility determination process, ensure family participation throughout the process, using teaming and collaboration to support coordination of services, and then partnering with families related to the coordination of services. We're on 5 out of 6, transition, right? This is a huge component of the service coordinator's work as well. Service coordinators need to implement smooth and effective transition plans with the family that identify the events and activities and processes associated with key changes between environments or programs during the early childhood years. So this is all about partnering with families to plan and implement appropriate individualized transition activities, manage required timelines, processes, and documentation to support successful transition, and to support a variety of plans and timely activities for successful adjustment during the transition process. Our last set, before we jump in and take a look at how we could use these to support professional development, is on professionalism. So Sept 6, professionalism. Service coordinators demonstrate professionalism by using personal and professional boundaries, flexibility, resiliency, time management, dependability, and by engaging in ongoing professional development. So this gets back to applying organizational skills and being able to manage and meet required timelines with the correct documentation in place, reflect and evaluate current practices to determine strengths and areas for professional growth. And that's some of what we'll be able to do with some of the resources related to these knowledge and skills that have been developed. And then also set personal and professional boundaries and use leadership skills. All right. Question, as we just looked at each of those 6 sets of knowledge, I'm wondering, as you think about infant and toddler development, family-centered practices, leadership and training, coordination of services, transition and professionalism, and the skills that were under each, just taking that first quick look, I'm wondering if the set feels comprehensive or if you feel like there's something that might be missing. If you don't mind just replying in chat or using your, feel free to also unmute and talk if you'd like to. I apologize for my scratchy throat today. This is definitely pollen in the air. I felt like the 6 sets were really comprehensive when I was looking through them, and that the skills were nicely articulated, to be able to see, what it looks like to put that knowledge set into practice. Hopefully, as you're looking through them, you'll be able to get a better feel for what these look like in practice as they're written, and then determine how you're feeling about their comprehensiveness. Yep. So thank you I see a couple of responses here. Seems like a great list of skills for service coordinators and seems comprehensive and well thought out. Yeah, that's how I felt when I was looking through it as well. All right, let's go through. I want to show you a resource, and what I'm going to do is put in chat. I'm going to put in chat a link to the resource so that you can go ahead and open it yourself. Apologies, just getting to my screen. Here we go. So one tool that was developed is a self-assessment tool. And this allows service coordinators to consider each of those 6 areas that we just talked about. It's going into chat right now. I'd like to take a look, pull it up. This allows service coordinators to be able, as I said, to be able to look at each of those 6 areas and then determine how they've got this on a scale of 1 to 5. Do I need help with this? Number 1 with an exclamation point, all the way up to I've got this, I'm good. This is a strength for me, right? Just gonna make sure we're looking at the same thing. And then, so it goes through all of the 6. And then one of the things that's really wonderful about this self-assessment is that you can go to the end here and it facilitates the development of an action plan. So the service coordinator is able to self-assess along those 6 areas and then be able to say, okay, all right, so these are some areas of strengths that I've got. I've got some nice 4s and 5s here, maybe in coordination of services. I'm really great at like being able to help identify services, meeting my timelines, making sure everything is coordinated and communicated. But maybe an area of support that I need is an infant and toddler development, right? So maybe I need to better understand typical development and how it looks in relation to, or maybe I need to learn more about autism, right? So they're different. It allows for that individualization of action planning. And then goals and steps. So really being able to think through what exactly it is that service coordinator needs to do to be able to grow in the areas that they've identified. And then also to list not just what the action steps are, but who and what they think will help them get to that, to be able to achieve the learning and growth that they've identified in their action plan. I'm wondering, has anyone here seen or used this resource before? So if you wouldn't want to share in chat if and how you've used it. If not, I'm wondering how you see yourself being able to use this resource or not. I thought that it did a really nice job of, I was thinking in terms of supervision and that one-on-one support that can be provided on the local system level. It seems like a really nice way of embedding some individualized supports that are led by the service coordinator, but then, supported by the supervisor or administrator. Yeah, similar to the coaching resources. Yeah, absolutely. Really bringing in that adult learning model across, right? Of, the adult being able to sit and self-reflect and identify their priorities, and then coming in collaboration with that coaching model of how can I help you, right? What have you identified? Really using kind of more questions that the administrator uses to support that development. I'm seeing Brandy thinking that it could be, you've not seen it, but it could be a nice way to support supervision of service coordinators. Yeah. I see some nice use here. Christy, you're talking about using it for practice-based coaching. That's what I was thinking too. It seemed like it aligns really well with that model. Okay. Now that we've had a look at this, I want to show you another resource that I think is particularly useful for more of a group professional development component or approach. And perhaps for those meetings that you have with your service coordination staff, for those of you who are supervisors, and then also for those of you who are perhaps faculty or involved in pre-service preparation, something that you could use as part of a class discussion. So let's go to that next. I'll put that in the chat next. Just a moment to load it. This one is called Knowledge and Skills for Service Coordinators, Resources that Allow You to Take Another Look. So here we go. All right, why don't you guys go ahead and load up this resource that I just put in chat. And when you open it, it gets you to a set of folders. If you open the print and digital files folder, it's going to show you how to get there. So when you're on your own, you know what you're doing. And then go ahead in and open up the Knowledge and Skills for Service Coordinators printable flyers with images. And here you go. Just making sure can everyone see my screen, the Knowledge and Skills for Service Coordinators with the knowledge and skills, the 6 sets here? Yeah, great. All right. So what we're looking at here, the first page is just a nice summary of what we've gone over and has those 6 sets, right? With a small description. But then if you go down to page 2, what you find is a series of one-pagers with one page developed for each knowledge set. And what they do at the beginning is they give you that summary of what the knowledge is. They list the specific skills, but then they have a vignette that takes this knowledge and skill set and puts them into a practice-related situation. And then they only do that, but then they also offer a set of reflection questions that align with that vignette. And they ask some questions about the general skills, but then they also bring it down to personal reflection on what that service coordinator who's here with you now knows related to this skill set. So it's fine-tunes it and brings it down to some individual reflection as well. So these are for each, just as I show you through. They have them for each of the 6 sets. The vignettes are different. The reflection questions are nicely aligned and different for each of the skill sets. So what I thought we'd do is take a practice shot at simulating an activity that the Division for Early Childhood's work group did when they rolled out these resources a little while ago. They used this activity to help professional development providers, faculty, et cetera, be able to engage in some group professional development using this set of resources. So what I'm going to do is go back to my, as soon as I move it, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. All right. So what I'd like you to do, for those of you who haven't used Stamp before, I'll tell you how to do it. But for those of you who know how to stamp, here's the activity, and then we'll get everybody through it. What we're going to do is use the Stamp tool in Zoom to be able to select as a group We're going to do majority rules on which one of these knowledge sets we want to take a closer look at and use the resources to take a closer look tool to do that. So which one of these, use your stamp tool, should we talk about today? For those of you who haven't used the stamp tool in a while, go ahead and use your cursor and hover over your screen. At the top, you should see screen being shared by Lorelei. And next to that, it should say view options. Go ahead and click view options and then click annotate, and you'll find stamp and be able to share with us what you'd like to focus on. And if that's too cumbersome or something's not working, you can go ahead and put in chat what you'd like to focus on. We'll see what we get here. All right, oh, I like the check mark. So far we've got a lot of folks in here. I had a feeling transition might be a hot topic. Leadership as well. It looks like transition though. Any final selections here? All right, close call. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, all right, y'all, it's transition. So if you want to go ahead and go to your the page that has under the closer look resource that you're looking at, if you go to the page that has its set number 4, a closer look at KSS number 4, coordination of services. So take a moment to just take another look over what those the skills are there under. Oh, so I'm sorry, transition, you guys. Excuse me, knowledge and KSSS 5 transition. So go to that page. Take a quick look at the demonstrated skills. So 3, partnering with families to plan and implement, managing required timelines, processes, and documentation to support transitions, and then support a variety of planned and timely strategies. All right, so with those in mind, we've got our knowledge set for transition, implementing smooth and effective transitions, and our demonstrated skills. I'm going to go ahead then and have us take a quick look at the vignette. Anna has a diagnosis of spina bifida. She's turning 3 years old in just 6 months. Her parents want Anna to attend preschool. Anna usually sleeps until 10 a.m. Anna will need to wake up several hours earlier to be at school on time. Anna's parents agreed that Jaden, who is a service coordinator, should refer Anna for Part B evaluation. When Anna was 31 months old, Jaden held a transition planning conference. With parent permission, Jaden invited the public early childhood special education preschool representative and, at the parents' request, Anna's aunt, to the meeting. Jaden documented the following transition activities in Anna's IFSB transition plan. Anna's parents will start waking her up 30 minutes earlier each day until she's waking up at 7 every morning. Anna's aunt will bring Anna to the morning nursery program at her church on Sundays. Jaden will change Anna's afternoon toddler group to the morning group. The occupational therapist will move home visits to a morning time to support the family with preparing Anna to leave for the early intervention toddler group. And then the preschool representative will inquire about whether Anna can eat breakfast at preschool if she's eligible for Part B services. So we take that for a moment. Let's look at these reflection questions. And let's try out questions 1 and 2 in chat. So we'll simulate the activity. Thinking about the first question, responding in chat, what are some ways Jaden demonstrates knowledge and skills in the area of transition? So Jaden, the service coordinator, what are some of the things that he does that facilitates, that shows that he's demonstrating some of these knowledge and skills that are outlined above? He held a transition conference, right, between the ages of 27 and 33 months. So he's hitting that timeline. He's worked on helping the family adjust to the morning schedules, right? He held the meeting with parent permission. So we're seeing some of those being able to manage required timelines, processes, and documentation, right? We're also seeing them be able to partner with the family in ways that supports them, and then being able to plan those variety of strategies, right, to help Anna be able to adjust to the earlier schedule before she transitions. Wonderful. All right. Again, pretending we are a group of service coordinators in a professional development. How do you learn about what the child and family will need as they prepare to transition out of early intervention? So kind of putting on your service coordinator hat, what would you do to learn about the child and family as you were going through the transition process and beginning to support them? What are some ways you would do that? And it gets at that skill number 1. Discussion transition plans from the beginning. Yes. So from the beginning of the time that Jaden's been working with Anna's family, the service coordinator, perhaps he has been meeting with, like, really preparing the family from that very first meeting to understand what transition is and to be thinking in terms of the shift and the plans that are going to happen, so that he's asking the questions along the way and really being able to help them learn and understand what it is they will need to be able to plan. Wonderful. Meet with the family, ask those open-ended questions, maybe complete a daily, weekly family activity schedule, right, to better understand what their day week looks like. So then you can look at what could change and what could shift to be able to plan ahead. Absolutely. So you'll see on here too that there's 2 more sets of questions. So it goes from, again, that general of what's Jaden doing. It brings it into number 2, what do you do to learn? Number 3, what strategies do you use to collaborate? And then what skills or strategies would you like to develop? So what are you doing now that's working really well? And then what could you do? So again, another way of getting at that, how to help each service coordinator get to a place where they can identify their strengths, but also identify their areas for growth, and then begin to do some action planning around their own areas and have that individualized support plan that can come into place. So what I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and go to our next slide. So that's something we just talked about, how to use this in an individualized or group way. I need to clear my screen here. There we go. What I wanted to do is make sure, and this will all come to you all, and it will be on the professional development plan that is associated with this set of resources on our website. And we'll also send it out to you all in an email. These are links that were made available by the Division for Early Childhood Service Coordination Community of Practice. And for those of you who don't know about this group, you do not have to be a member of the Division for Early Childhood to join this community of practice. So it's a wonderful thing to encourage service coordinators that you know that are within your community or your collegial groups to be able to join. On their homepage for the COP are these links to the knowledge and skills for service coordinators. That first handout gives you a really comprehensive understanding of how they were developed. The self-assessment tool we looked at, then the set of resources for the take a closer look in different types of files. And their PowerPoint slide presentation is actually really helpful and goes through a more in-depth along each of the 6 sets, that activity that we just did of being able to select an area, go with the group's choice, go into it and take a closer look using their resources.